Yo, what's up guys, welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to 8 American things British people find weird from Sean, and I reacted to him the other day and I'm reacting to him again. And I've, before the other day, I'd never checked the channel out before. I saw him in a Lost in the Pond video and I did know he made videos somewhat like this, but I'd never checked him out, and I guess we're here now, but hopefully going to enjoy. And let's see some of these things that
Lemonade,
American things British people find weird. Let's see if I find these weird or not.
toilet blocks, and sports. In today's episode of the vlog, we're talking about some of the things that British people find weird that Americans do. That's coming right up after this. Hello everybody, how are you doing, and welcome to today's episode of the vlog. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Sean and I'm a YouTuber from Edinburgh in Scotland. Right here on my channel I talk about the cultural exchange themes that I have been kind of exploring over the last while between Scotland, the UK in general, and the United States of America, because there's some really deep connections. A lot of people in America want to know about the UK, about Scotland in particular, through their heritage, through their ancestry, and I think that's amazing, something I'm going to be continue to explore on this channel for a very long time to come. And I've only just scratched the surface, but I think to get there, to get to the kind of bigger pieces that I'm going to do, there's a lot of little stuff in between, the nitty gritty that we have to get hold of and explore and discover. So that's what's happening on this channel today. Thank you so much for being here. And guys, listen, if you're new, please don't forget to hit the red subscribe button down in the bottom corner, and then you will be part of the family from here on in. I'll be very sad if you don't do it. Have you done it? Awesome to have you on board. Thank you so much for joining the club. Right, things Americans do that British people think are a little bit weird. And I'm talking about Britain today because actually here in Scotland we have a very unique culture and identity, but really there's a lot of things that we have in similarities with the rest of the islands of Great Britain. England, there's a lot of similarities between the ways we deal with things and think and just design our infrastructure. So I think it's quite fair to say that a lot of things I'm talking about apply to the whole UK in respect to these American things that I'm going to talk about, alright? I'm also in today's episode going to be opening a couple of letters that I received from the United States. People have very kindly been sending me packages and all sorts. There's a link down below to the address if you want to send anything. And also guys, listen, I just launched on Sunday a brand new series exploring the NC 500, the North Coast 500, one of the most epic road trips in all of Scotland and maybe even all of Europe. Lots of people are clambering to get to this road trip, right? And I just did it in a Tesla. Make sure you watch that video, but also I'm launching a series of signed postcards. I have taken the photos for the postcards, I'm going to sign them, and I'm going to send them out to viewers on my Patreon account, all right? So if you haven't signed up to my Patreon and you want more information about it, there's a link down below that explains everything, all right? So let's do this. The 8 things Americans do, that people in the UK and Britain find a little bit odd. Not necessarily bad, right? Not at all. And you might have saw the headline of this video and think, here's another idiotic, self-righteous British arse who is just going to be making fun of us. But not so. This is not going to be a tea spilling exercise. Because let me tell you, a lot of things in the list, I actually prefer the way Americans do things. Definitely, from my experiences. If you've not been watching my channel for a long time, you might not know this, but I went on a tour with the United States Embassy to the UK of America. They took us to various different states to kind of explore American culture so that we could report back on that trip. It was so amazing, life-changing, and made me fall in love with the United States. So that is another reason why I've been going into some of these things, some of the things we learned on that trip. Let's get into them, right? And number one is actually something I probably agree with on the British side. This is one thing I found very weird in every single place I went to in America. Really odd, okay? I don't know what you guys in America will think of this. I want to know your thoughts, okay? But listen, when you go to public toilets in America, basically there is zero privacy, right?
Okay, yeah.
Because in between the door stalls, where the lock is, for example, the gap is about that big. You can look and wait.
Oh, there's gaps in between. I thought it was just below. Well, so there's gaps in between the doors. Oh, God.
Everybody as they're walking past the bathroom stalls as you're in there, you know, doing your thing, right? And I must admit that was one of the oddest things when going to the public bathrooms, because if you come to the bathrooms here in the UK and Scotland, the public bathrooms, you get a lot more privacy. Sometimes the doors are even sealed off in total, so you're in your own private cubicle room. But in America, it was like that much ground clearance, loads at the top as well, and you're just in a big open forum, you know, when you want to be in a private place. What do you guys think about that? Is that something
I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that.
even noticed as Americans or care about? When you came here, did you notice our bathrooms are slightly more private? Drop your comments down below, please. Number 2, and this is something that I absolutely 100% agree with you guys in America, okay? Ice in your drinks, and generally speaking, cold drinks, right?
I mean, ice in your drinks, you can get that though. Easily. It's just, I guess, the amount you have. Like, sometimes in the US you'll have loads of ice, won't you?
Right now in Scotland, we are having some unusually warm weather. It was 21 degrees Celsius today in Edinburgh. You might be thinking,
That is quite cold. Even for me, like 21. If like the ideal temperature for me in the summer is like 20. I'll say 23, 24 degrees. That's the ideal temperature. It's not too hot, not too cold. 21 as well. I'm happy with that. But I wouldn't say that's hot, even in like down south. I mean, I'm a lot further south than he is, and Scotland is typically quite a lot colder than the southern part of England. So I guess that makes sense. But 21 degrees being considered hot is crazy. But then that's probably what people that's probably what people think when I'm saying it's 27, 28 degrees and I'm in my office and I'm sweating my balls off. And people are like, what? That's nothing. I deal with 40 degrees every single day.
that's a bit chilly. But for us, it was a heat wave. There were people walking around town with basically no clothes on today. It has been like this for the last few days, and it's forecast to be like this for days to come. Very warm, right? But yet, no matter where you go here, whether it's a cafe, whether it is a restaurant, whether it is a pub, it is difficult, very difficult to get an ice cold drink. You know, when you're
Really?
just hot and it's summer and you just want a really, really cold drink, there is nothing more refreshing. Well, here,
No, from cafes you can. Cafes you can get like slushies easily. I mean, I'm trying to think of places you couldn't. I feel like it is relatively easy to get ice drinks. Again, in my city, maybe in Scotland it's not, again, because it's a bit colder there. Maybe it's just not really as common. But I say that, I'll eat ice cream in the winter and I won't care. Like, ice cream's sort of seen as a warm weather food, kind of like that. But I just don't care when it comes to cold foods. I'll just have them whenever.
here in the UK, we just don't do it. It's quite rare. And in fact, if you ask for ice in your glass, you will most certainly get a weird look. I don't know why it's like that here. Since I've travelled, I've found it really quite annoying actually, because I like my drinks really cold. Whereas in America, you guys put lots of ice and have all your drinks cold, right? As well as the ice on the top, they will also be refrigerated. And then we come to beer, right? If you go to a pub in America, the beer will come out of a really cold fridge and will actually be frosty. Here in the UK, our beer flows from taps, which has been connected to the barrel, which is not even refrigerated. It might
That's true, but they do put ice in it, so it cools it down relatively
be
quick.
kept down.
No, sorry, they don't put ice in your beers. They'll put ice in like your Cokes and your soft drinks at the pub. Yeah, I guess that's true. Actually, you don't want a warm beer.
In the cellar or whatever, but it's basically room temperature. That's no good, is it? We like a cold drink, especially when it's nice and warm in
Yeah,
summer.
it's true.
And a lot of Americans do find that weird when you guys come here. And I think when I've been to America, I have found that a revelation for me. It's been so great to have really nice cold drinks. It's something that I just don't understand it. Why do we do that here? I don't know. But I'm on your side. I am Team America. I kind of feel like this theme is kind of going both ways. So some of the things I agree with you guys, and some of the things I think are actually a bit weird, and maybe take the more British stance, right? The next one, I definitely take the British stance on this. This is something that shocked me no end, okay? When you're in a shop and you're going to buy something in America, it has a price, okay? You think, great.
I think I know what he's going to say.
That's not bad, a good deal. Actually pretty cheap. And then you take it to the counter, and then they slap another big wad of tax on top of it that you did not expect. I've got a specific example of this. I was in New York, right? And I went to buy a drone because in the UK they're a little bit more expensive, and I thought, okay, in America a little bit cheaper. I'll buy my drone in New York. The tax bill on top of it was from the New York state, I believe. But wow, it was a big chunk and I was not expecting it. I was thinking, that's not so cheap anymore. I could have just bought it in the UK, probably the same price. So that is something I do find weird, and British people generally complain about when they...
It's very fascinating to me that it's just not done together, because it just save people's time. And like, say you've gone to the... I mean, people in the US are so used to it, it probably isn't like this, but say you've gone to get something, you've got a certain amount of money, then you've just spent that specific amount, but then you get the tax, and then you're like, well, I've not got enough money for this now. Again, people from the US are probably used to this, but I just find it fascinating. It just makes sense for it to just all be together, but it's been how it is, I guess for a long time now, so it's not going to change, I assume. But
they go to America is the fact that you guys display your prices without the tax, and then you get a big tax bill whacked on top of it. What is that? That's usually state tax, right? Your state taxes are different from your federal tax. We don't really have that issue in the UK. It's all very much the same. That's why it's easy for them to calculate.
Actually, that's true. I wasn't thinking about that because obviously each state will be different, so that's why they can't have the same price. I mean, I get that. Even then, though, it's still very confusing.
But I don't know why the shops don't put their taxes in on America. And I think it's sometimes a little bit annoying because it makes you think the thing's cheaper, but you forget about the tax, right? 4, plugs. Very basic subject. You know the plugs that you put in sockets to power things? Like I'm powering this big light that's lighting up my face right now. In the UK, they're very, how can I say this? Safe? Because you put your plug in and it still does nothing. You have to actually turn a switch on to make it work. And when I was in America, something I found a little bit odd was the fact that you just put your plug in and boom, whatever it is comes on. And this might sound like a small deal, but it's actually something that we as British people are kind of scared about, right? When you go to America and it's like, you just put the plug in and whatever it is you're using magically comes to life without you pressing a switch to say, okay, it's safe to turn it on. Because I don't know, I think it's in our education here, we're always taught electricity, super dangerous, do things slowly, plug it in, and once you're ready, turn it on. Is that even an issue? Should that be an issue? I don't even know. The next thing, I'm on your side again. 100%, right? In America, you guys have so many 24-hour stores.
This is one that I can get behind. I mean, it just makes sense, right, to have 24-hour shops. It just makes everyone's lives easier. I mean, I'm quite a late night person, so I mean, it would make sense for me as well, but just to have one sort of shop open, you won't have any shops, convenience stores open 24/7 in the UK. I'm trying to think, and the only really 24/7 things I can actually think of are, I get obviously like gas stations, which are just, that's how it's going to be. And there's probably other things that I can't think of, but gyms, you get a lot of 24-hour gyms. But in terms of like shops, no. There's not any that I can think of that are 24/7, which is pretty fascinating. Like even on like, in the US, on like holidays, so Thanksgiving or Christmas, will shops be open on those days? Because in the UK, I don't think you have any shops open at all. And Boxing Day is when you shop, right? So I think they are open Boxing Day. But Christmas, 99% of shops will be shut, which I do understand, because who actually wants to work on Christmas? Unless you're not someone who celebrates it, then I guess if you work in a shop then, or you own a shop then, maybe you'll be open. But yeah, because I remember one of my corner shops near me when I was younger, I don't know, I think I was just walking out on Christmas and the shop was open. And that makes sense. You know what? If you've got to do business on Christmas and you want to do that, you don't celebrate it or whatever, fair enough. But it's very rare that you'll find a shop open 24/7. I don't know how I got to the Christmas thing. But yeah, I was asking in the US, when it's like a holiday, are shops ever open, or is it like a guarantee that they're all going to be shut? That's the question I was going to ask, and I just went on to something else that I just don't know why. But yeah, let me know about that, please.
And this
why have I said please?
In every single city I went in America, there's always something open. And I love this, right? I don't know what it is, but I feel
I'm cringing at myself so much. Why did I say please? Please let me know.
Something I found in every single city I went in America, there's always something open. And I love this, right? I don't know what it is, but I feel a comfort knowing that...
McDonald's is another one. There's a few 24... There were 24/7 McDonald's. Maybe they're not anymore. Yeah, I used to work at a 24/7 McDonald's, actually. So that is true. But it was quite a big McDonald's. I think it was one of the biggest ones in my city, because it's like a main road that leads to out the city. So a lot of people go there. But that's about it. That's all I can really think of.
No matter what time of day or night it is, if I need something, there's going to be something open where I can get it. I was in New York, like I said, last summer, and I remember right on the same block where I was staying, there was a 24-hour supermarket. There was a 24-hour pizza place. $1 pizza, I might add. There was a 24-hour McDonald's. And I think there was even a 24-hour bakery type of situation as well.
Bakery?
Basically, whatever we needed, any time of day and night.
Bakeries, man. Bakeries are like one of those places that will shut very early. From what I'm used to, I feel like they shut very early. Like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then they're done for the day, because they're quite an early sort of day thing. I guess makes sense. You get your bread, you get your snacks, all that sort of stuff. But 24/7 or 24-hour bakery, god damn.
They are 24 hours. Here in the UK, and a lot of Americans find this odd, we tend to shut up shop pretty early in the evenings. So kind of 8 to 10 p.m. a lot of things are already shut. And the pubs, as you know, don't last all night as well. They tend to shut between midnight and 1 in the morning because of licensing and all that kind of stuff. We're quite early here. Now, that's not to say it's always like that here. In London, you can find more things. And actually, some of the bigger supermarkets have tried this American style of being open 24 hours. Walmart has a subsidiary here in UK. I don't know if you guys know this, but there's a Walmart here and it's called Asda. That's the British Walmart.
See, they say it's a British Walmart, but it's just not. I've been to Asda many times. It's really nothing similar. From what I've seen of Walmart, it does not compare at all.
That's the British Walmart, owned by the same company, and they're superstores, select stores are open 24 hours, and there's actually one not far away from here.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that at all, to be fair.
And it's quite handy and useful. I like it. Like I said, I feel comfortable with the fact there's always something open 24 hours. I remember waking up at 2 in the morning once and I had a horrible migraine, didn't have any paracetamol. It's so handy to know that you can just get a shot whenever you need it. We just don't have that here. Pharmacies, for goodness sake, you have 24-hour pharmacies. We need this culture here in the UK.
Jeez.
British people find it weird, but I think we also kind of like it. I certainly do. So number 6.
And also, it means more work for people. So it's just one of those things that you get more work for people. It's more business. Obviously, at night time, you're not going to get as many people buying stuff. But I feel like it just works all the way around. Like, no one wants to work a night shift, but at the end of the day, you get more work for people. It's just, and then you get more efficiency for people to be able to get stuff at night. It just seems to work in a positive way. But I mean, different cultures, right? I guess Britain, the culture here is to get from work early and don't get stuff until the morning. I don't really know, but
as you guys are into all the sports, I think this is really cool. Definitely something I really enjoy about American culture. You tend to find people have a kind of broader interest in sports. Here
I think that's true. I think that's very true, because I mean, in terms of the US, I don't think is it normal for someone to just have really one sport in the US. So say you're just an NFL fan or an American football fan or just an MLB fan or baseball fan or whatever. Like, is it? I feel like it's quite typical for Americans to follow quite a few sports. I feel like the NBA is maybe one where there's a lot more people that will just necessarily watch the NBA. But even then, I feel like a lot of you will support a team in the NFL, in the NBA, in the MLB, in the NHL, in the MLS. I mean, it's not as popular, so maybe not that necessarily. But it's just a lot more common to have, like, to follow multiple sports. Whereas in the UK, he's probably going to say this, it's quite common where you'll just follow one sport. Or I say one sport, like one team sport, because obviously, like, people will like football or soccer, and then they'll like boxing or the UFC and different things like that. Like, I love boxing. I love a lot of the fighting stuff, like fighting sports, and I love football. And I don't really care about the other sports in the UK. So when it comes to cricket, I just can't watch it. I just don't care for it at all. Rugby, exactly the same. And yeah, that's just how I am. And I feel like that's quite common in the UK. Like, rugby fans will typically only really like rugby. There'll be a few that like both. And cricket fans, the same as that. Like, I think that they're just all different demographics in terms of the people that follow them. Whereas in the US, I feel like people are a lot more like they'll like multiple sports in the US. I could be completely wrong. He might be saying something now that contradicts what I've said, but I feel like that is kind of the case.
In Scotland, it's not really like that, okay? I'll explain about that in a second, but when you talk to an American person about sports, they're into football, they're into basketball, they're into tennis, they're into golf. They can tell you facts about all these sports. Volleyball, ice hockey, for goodness sake. Literally all the sports you can think of. Usually people in America, you have a broader base of knowledge and you can tell us things about all of these sports. And I think that's fascinating and really cool. You get some major sports fans in America. And here in the UK, it's not really like that. You tend to find here people are into singular sports.
There we go.
And they don't really care or know much about the others. So, for example, a big football fan here in Scotland or in the UK in general tends to know a lot about football. They can tell you all the facts about football, but then get a wee bit lost if you take them into rugby or golf or whatever.
He's literally just described me. I'm just an English version of this Scottish person that he's sort of making an example of.
But they won't know about these things. People here are very narrow in their sport interests. And I just find that fascinating and really cool that in America, you guys definitely seem to have a wider sports-based knowledge and interest. I actually got this t-shirt from somebody who watches the vlog, Brenda from Tennessee. Thank you very much for sending this. And I've been receiving loads of sports-related items and merch from you guys, so thank you.
That's true. A lot of the things, a lot of the clothing stuff that I was sent were sport-related, like college football teams and stuff like that. So it is like, sportswear in the US probably is just a lot more common. Like, I'll occasionally wear like my football shirts, but I don't have football jumpers or anything like that. Like, I don't really have those kinds of things. You don't really see them that often. So yeah, that is definitely a difference as well in terms of like wearing sort of sports teams clothing and stuff like that. That's probably a lot more common in the US as well. Just a lot more of a thing in general.
Thank you so much for sending them. It's really interesting to see all your colours and all your teams from different states. I've got so many sports teams now, between American football, between hockey, to go and check out when I go to the States next. It's going to be a riot just on the sports alone. So thanks guys for sending that stuff. Number 7, and here's something that I wish was better here. Something about America that is kind of like a curiosity, okay? Lemonade. Humboldt lemonade. And this is something that I find interesting because going way back to when I was a kid, I used to watch a lot of American programs, and I always remember it seemed to be in the summertime especially, kids...
Lemonade stands? Yep, I knew he was going to say that. Is that actually a thing though? Like, will kids just have lemonade stands just out their front like garden and stuff in the US? Or is this more of just like a stereotypical thing that you see in films and like TV series and shows? Like, because this is a thing that I do associate with like seeing in US shows is the lemonade stand. The kid will be making his homemade lemonade, and yeah, just selling it to random people in the neighborhood. I guess maybe it is just a thing, but I just can't really comprehend that because it's something that you see, but I just don't. It's something that in the UK would just not happen. I just can't really like fathom it, but I guess it probably is a thing. It's got to be based off something. So
used to make lemonade and sell it on the streets to their neighbours. And when I saw the lemonade, it was always looked so good, right? Homemade lemonade, real lemons, and whatever other ingredients they use, special ingredients, and it just looked lovely. And in the UK, we don't have that type of lemonade. We have lemonade, but our lemonade tends
fizzy.
To be, how can I say this? Like a soft drink, sparkly.
Oh, so the lemonade. Okay, I was thinking. So, the lemonade that would be at these stands would just be basically the same, just not fizzy or sparkling or whatever.
Full of sugar and the faintest hint of a taste of lemon, the faintest hint. But like that's what we call lemonade, and it's really not lemonade. And guys, having been to America last year, a couple of places, I tried the lemonade, and I am addicted to lemonade now. I make homemade lemonade all the time, thanks to you guys. You guys have it.
How do you make it? I mean, lemon, water, sugar, and that's probably it, right? That's just the 3 ingredients. How can you make that? Like, surely there's more to it than that. Because I mean, I've made that. I've just made it as a hot drink instead. When I'm feeling ill, put a bit of ginger in as well. But I know that's not lemonade. But is that just what it is? You just literally just water, lemon, and sugar. I assume that's the case. But I could be wrong.
I appreciate that. Number 8, we're on to the last one, okay? The American polite greeting of how are you, right? This is something I think is quite important to discuss because when we hear that as a British person, we're like, what? This person wants to know really deep, intimate details about my life. When somebody asks the simple question of how are you?
No, I ask that a lot, to be fair. If I see someone that I know, it's quite a common thing to ask, isn't it?
British people are different that way, right? When you get to that level of how are you doing, it's like a really personal question and you really feel like you have to give a solid answer, right? If somebody says that to you here, you will spend the next 4 or 5 minutes going through literally all the things of your life.
Okay, maybe that's true. I was thinking maybe he was saying we don't say it here. I think I say that quite often, but because I say it all the time, I'm just so used to it not being an in-depth conversation like that. It's just like saying, how was your day, pretty much, or what are you up to? That's just sort of how I say it.
That are of significance. Whereas in America, it's like, how are you? The next person responds, I'm good. How are you? Great. And then you go on your way. I don't know what it is, but here in the UK, we're just not wired up that way. And by the way, you might be in for a surprise. If we're not doing that well, we'll also tell you reasons why, all the intimate details of why we're not doing that well. So I find that
I'm really bad at having short conversations. I'll start a conversation with someone and then I'll just be talking to them for ages. I don't know if I'm too awkward to end the conversation or I just chat too much. I'm so bad at ending conversations. If I want to have a quick chat with someone, it won't be a quick talk. And then I'll end up wasting so much time for no reason. That's the thing that I definitely want to try and learn not to do because it's so frustrating for myself. Because obviously I love having the conversation, but then I realise, I'm 30 minutes late to what I was supposed to do now. It's just frustrating to me.
Interesting cultural take.
But I think that's just more me being a bit awkward to end the conversation, to be honest. That's just what it is.
And I much prefer you guys just like, how are you? Fine, all good. How are you? On our way. No more details need to be spared. Quick, polite, efficient. That's what I like. Anyway, guys, that was today's episode.
I enjoyed this, to be fair. I did enjoy this because it's just things that you do sort of see and you don't realise whether they're like the case or not. Like the lemonade stand one, like I mean, firstly, I didn't realize it wasn't fizzy either. That's something that I learned too. I thought it would just be lemonade, which when I think of lemonade, fizzy, lemon flavored sugary drinks. And that's pretty much it. Like Sprite. Is Sprite American? Like that's sort of like lemonade, but a bit more sweet. But that is lemonade, typically what I think of. Even Americans think the bathroom gap isn't cool. I was thinking like the gap was just at the bottom, but then when you think it's in like the doorway as well, that is horrible. Oh man, I thought, oh, sorry for you. Like going to school toilets and trying to just chop his shit in that. It just does not sound fun. But at the same time, like in the UK, if you go to the toilet and you don't have a wee, and you're doing the other one, and there's people that come to the toilet that you know your friends or whatever, best know you're done for. I never ever had a poo in a school toilet in my life. That's too much information, I know, but I never ever done it. I was always quite awkward about doing it in public spaces. I've evolved a little bit, but I never ever used to do it in school toilets, probably because of that, and I maybe saw other people, and it just scarred me. Is that a thing in the US as well? If you catch someone in the toilet, they're done for. Like you get stuff thrown at you. Doors kicked in. Oh god, it probably wasn't. I don't know, but maybe it was. Let me know. Actually, I don't know why I care so much, but that's just quite a British cultural thing. You go to a school toilet and you're not having a piss, you're in trouble. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this reaction. Let me know if you agree with some of this stuff or not. And yeah, until next time, I subscribe. Peace.